John Cena said it first, months before anyone else was talking about it. Brock Lesnar's story ends in Minnesota, and with SummerSlam landing in Lesnar's own hometown, that prediction is looking more real by the week. Welcome back to Wrestling Canva. Let's walk through everything that's actually been reported here, because this isn't just internet noise. Multiple respected insiders have been circling the same story for months, even if the details keep shifting. Back in December, John Cena sat down with Chris Van Vliet ahead of his own retirement match and said something that immediately got attention. He talked about building Lesnar up as an attraction before sending him into the sunset, and specifically named Minnesota as the location. That wasn't a throwaway comment. Lesnar was born in South Dakota, but became a legend at the University of Minnesota, winning an NCAA Division I championship there before ever signing with WWE. If Lesnar's career is going to end somewhere symbolic, Minnesota checks every box. Days after Cena's comments, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter confirmed there was a real story circulating about Lesnar retiring at SummerSlam 2026. According to Meltzer, WWE had internal working plans for retirement runs covering 3 names: Lesnar, AJ Styles, and potentially Chris Jericho if he signed with the company. Styles' retirement was described as close to locked in. Lesnar's was described as talked about, but not fully confirmed. This year's SummerSlam lands at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, exactly the kind of homecoming venue that lines up perfectly with everything Cena and Meltzer had already suggested. Lesnar's currently locked into a trilogy match against Femi inside Hell in a Cell. The deciding chapter after their series has gone 1 win apiece across WrestleMania 42 and Clash in Italy. A rubber match, inside a structure Lesnar's undefeated in his own home state. That's about as perfect a retirement stage as WWE could realistically build. If you want every update on this story as it develops, tap subscribe. I'm tracking it closely. Here's where things get genuinely complicated, and Meltzer himself flagged it directly. He pointed out that WWE has used the word retired extremely loosely throughout this entire Lesnar-Femi story already. Lesnar appeared to retire once before, leaving his boots and gloves in the ring after losing to Femi at WrestleMania 42, only to return weeks later for the rematch at Clash in Italy. Meltzer even suggested that whatever happens at SummerSlam might just be his last match, until the next time he decides to come back. And here's the twist that makes this story genuinely uncertain, rather than a sure thing. More recent reporting has suggested Lesnar might not be finished at all. There's real chatter about WWE working Lesnar into a feud with Bron Breakker after SummerSlam, reportedly tied to Paul Heyman's split from The Vision, potentially building toward an entirely new trilogy between Lesnar and Breakker. That's a direct contradiction to the retirement narrative, and it's coming from sources close to the same backstage conversations. It's worth pointing out these two competing reports aren't necessarily incompatible. WWE could absolutely book a dramatic, emotional retirement moment at SummerSlam, complete with Lesnar walking away in his hometown, and still bring him back months later for a fresh program. That's essentially what already happened after WrestleMania 42. If that pattern repeats, fans could get an emotional farewell moment at SummerSlam that isn't actually a permanent goodbye. If WWE does commit to a genuine send-off this time, expect it to be built around the Femi rivalry itself rather than a separate announcement. Given how personal and physical this trilogy has become, culminating with a loss inside Hell in a Cell, passing the torch to a rising star like Femi in his own hometown would be exactly the kind of legacy-defining moment WWE has used before with other legends. Lesnar's entire WWE career has been defined by unpredictability. He's walked away from the company multiple times over 2 decades, only to return when the money or the story made sense. That history is exactly why insiders themselves can't agree on what's actually planned. Even Meltzer, one of the most well-connected reporters in the business, described this as talked about rather than locked in. So here's where things genuinely stand. Cena predicted it, Meltzer's sourced it, the venue lines up perfectly, and Lesnar's own pattern of walking away before coming back makes this almost impossible to call with certainty. Do you think Brock Lesnar actually retires for good at SummerSlam, or is this just another temporary goodbye? Tell me your prediction in the comments. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.